Mexico City is the only place on earth where I have a large friend circle and everyone knows everyone else. It's wonderfully comforting. It also means unavoidable drama. Francesca and Nico were a couple. They broke up, and Nico started seeing Ruby. I was friends with both women and listened to each side of the story. Francesca was 37 years old, but looked 25. She was half Mexican, a quarter American, and a quarter Chinese. I took a slightly biased guess at which of her three ancestries gave her such a youthful appearance. After 8 years working as a nurse in California, Francesca decided to start her own online business helping international students get into medical school in the United States. Even though it was much less money and stability, she prioritized freedom of movement. After traveling the world for a few years, she decided to settle down in Mexico City. Her favorite countries were Mexico, Guatemala, and Laos. I've been to all three, and they are indeed excellent choices. Nico was a handsome 25-year-old Mexican software engineer. He was born in Guadalajara, but grew up in Washington State, where his family still lived as undocumented immigrants. He self-deported a few years ago because he couldn't find a decent-paying job in the tech field as an illegal immigrant. Even though he now had a great job and loved his new life in Mexico City, it pained him to be separated from his family. He couldn't go back to the United States, and they couldn't come visit him in Mexico. Francesca offered to marry him, since she was an American citizen, and they did have a real relationship, but he refused. Nico slept with another girl the night before he moved in with Francesca. She showed up to his apartment that morning with coffee and a pastry, only to hear him confess his infidelity. Since he came clean instead of keeping her in the dark, she decided to forgive his betrayal and let him move in with her as planned. They broke up a month later. Francesca told me, even though he tried, his best efforts still weren't good enough to be the man she needed. During their relationship, Nico inherited most of her friends. He asked her not to tell anyone about his infidelity, even after they split up. She obliged because she still wanted to stay friends. The only problem was Nico seemed intent on making her jealous by sleeping with women she knew. After several months of trying to be agreeable, she finally told everyone about his betrayal, cut him out of her life, and her friends followed suit. Even though Nico wasn't much of a boyfriend to Francesca, he was an excellent lover to Ruby. Ruby was a 30-year-old speech pathologist from Kentucky. She had red hair, freckles, and a cheerful southern disposition. She knew Nico wasn't a potential life partner because she wanted children someday, and he didn't. In the meantime, he helped her through some sexual trauma from her past. They both dated other people and discussed it openly. I'm glad he and Ruby are enjoying each other's company. Love is a complex dance. Different needs and life stages can turn a frustrating boyfriend into the ideal, intimate companion. Ruby was fluent in Spanish after studying abroad in Chile. She worked with children from diverse international backgrounds, from Venezuela to Namibia. Once, Nico picked her up from her office and had a small panic attack at being in close proximity to children. From that point on, he waited outside the building whenever he picked her up. Ruby was passionate and successful in her work. She recently started her own business and already saw some traction after a few months. She was considering quitting her job to grow her business full-time. Unfortunately, her parents weren't impressed or proud of any of her accomplishments. They preferred she come home to Kentucky, get married, and have children like her younger sister. Her mother even went as far as suggesting she didn't even need to be married. Just have a baby with someone, anyone, even a married man. Needless to say, this hurt Ruby deeply, and she didn't speak with her family very often. One afternoon, we walked together to her office in the upscale neighborhood of Polanco. We passed what she said was a school, but to me it resembled a top-secret government agency. Apparently, wealthy parents were afraid their children would be kidnapped and held for ransom, so certain private schools had high security. Her office was very sweet, with children's decorations in every room. It made me wistful of the days when I was an English teacher. Who knows? Perhaps I'll work with children again someday. Ruby told me about a term I never heard of before: third culture kid. It means a person who spends a significant part of their developmental years living in a culture different from their parents. They develop a strong sense of independence and self-reliance at a young age. They're open-minded, adaptable, and adjust to new situations easier than most. And they lack a sense of belonging. Well, that explains why I often feel the way I do. Thank you, Ruby. I went home that afternoon and finished reading The Postman Always Rings Twice by James Cain. The story follows a drifter named Frank and an unhappily married Cora who plot a murder. Their twisted dream of freedom backfires as their crime unravels, exposing them to the deadly consequences. I thought about Nico, who was the only person in this love triangle I did not speak to. I remembered when I first saw him. He was strikingly handsome, with curly black hair and very white teeth. Once I saw him crack a raw egg into a smoothie. I asked if he ever got sick. He replied, never. It was a common tactic to build muscle. He told me he wrestled for many years, resulting in chronic stiffness in his body, so he decided to take ballet classes to improve flexibility. He went to an upscale gym in the neighborhood. At first, the security guards gave him trouble, thinking he couldn't possibly be a member. But Nico spoke to them in English, and as soon as the guards heard his perfect American accent, they let him in. During the few times I spoke to him, he was intelligent, confident, and polite. I assumed he was working remotely in Mexico City like I was, and never would have guessed his painful backstory. I am also an immigrant, although my family came to the United States legally. Making a new life in a foreign country is difficult enough. Doing it under Nico's family circumstances, and then choosing to self-deport as an adult is unimaginable. I closed my eyes and put myself in his shoes. I hoped he would be all right. Later in the week, I caught up with another friend and fellow traveler. Emma was a beautiful young Belgian woman nursing a broken heart. Last year, she met Camilo while traveling through Mexico. They fell in love and continued their relationship after she returned to Belgium and he moved back to Colombia. Camilo lost his job at the beginning of their relationship. Mexico City was too expensive, so he returned to the more affordable Bogota, where he had family and connections. He invited Emma to come visit his country before she left Latin America. They visited Medellin, Cartagena, Minca, and Parque Tirona. Even though they split the bill for everything, he still found himself deep in debt. Even though he got a new job and was paid in US dollars, he wasn't happy with the salary. During the summer, Camilo went to Europe to visit Emma and to celebrate his 30th birthday. Even though he was working remotely the entire time, he accumulated more debt. While at her house in Belgium, Emma was cleaning their room and came across his journal lying face up on the nightstand. She meant to close it, but not before catching a glimpse of her name written on the page. Curiosity got the better of her. To be honest, I think it would have gotten the better of most of us. Camilo wrote 3 sentences about her and 3 pages about a German girl who rejected him last year. One of the sentences was, "She is so close, yet so far. I wonder if she will be in my life in the future." What little he did write about Emma only mentioned how difficult it was to live under the same roof together as a couple. I could imagine her anger, reading her boyfriend's pining thoughts for someone else, while barely acknowledging her. Emma was now visiting Mexico City for vacation and asked Camilo if she could come to Colombia so they could work things out. He said no. He didn't want to see her. He didn't want to work things out. He had too much on his mind. His parents were getting older, and he didn't make enough money to take care of them. He was still in debt. Even though he got a pay raise last month, it still wasn't enough. He was also still recovering from the German girl who rejected him before Emma came into his life. He told her he still loved her, and he was sorry. She told him she still loved him, but she was moving on. Maybe they can be together again someday when he's ready, and if she wasn't already in love with someone else. She told me about the annoyances in their relationship. Once at a party in Colombia, he accused her of flirting with another man in front of him. She denied it, but he remained adamant. When she told him about something that bothered her, instead of listening with empathy, he would try to solve the problem he believed she had. When she said she just wanted him to listen and be emotionally supportive, he accused her of trying to change him. Emma had a lot on her mind as well. She didn't like her job in Belgium. She worked at a bank, dealing with financial crimes. What she really wanted was to leave Belgium, travel the world, and work in human rights. She came to Mexico City last year to work on her master's thesis on femicide in Mexico. I didn't know this was a word until I met her. Femicide is the intentional murder of women because of their gender. Rates are highest in regions with high levels of gender inequality. This includes limited access to education and economic opportunities for women, as well as patriarchal norms that condone violence against women. Emma recalled one chilling interview where a local woman said she was afraid of marriage because the man she chooses to be her husband could be the person who kills her. Mexico City has one of the largest International Women's Day marches in the world, with over 180,000 participants. I remember seeing numerous billboards and advertisements focused on domestic violence and abuse against women. However, these issues were widely dismissed and downplayed by men on social media. I remember back in Medellin, I met a local man who said, nowadays, women self-inflict injuries, like a black eye, in order to falsely accuse a partner of abuse. I was deeply disappointed when he told me this. One afternoon, Emma and I went to the Zocalo to visit the cathedral. She pointed out the columns were tilting. I took a closer look, and she was right. Mexico City was built on soft ground, and the buildings were slowly but surely sinking. Afterwards, we went to a rooftop bar to watch the sunset. Mexico City has the same population as the entire country of Belgium. The streets and buildings went on and on and on. Emma went to the bathroom and came back looking disturbed. She said there was a worm in her poop, still alive and wriggling. She had no stomach troubles and felt perfectly fine all week, but thought it would be wise to see her doctor when she returned to Belgium in a few days. She revealed she had a disability with her right foot. When she was born, the doctors told her parents she wouldn't be able to walk. Her parents then took her to a different doctor, who performed the necessary surgery. She could walk. She made it all the way to Mexico City, where we crossed paths and became friends. Never underestimate the power of a second opinion. Before my return to Mexico City, I spent a week in Guatemala. Find out how I spent my time in the colonial city of Antigua in this video, where I go on 2 very different hikes and do some eavesdropping in a local cafe.